The atmosphere there was insane. It felt like a postseason game. It was louder than I've been to a couple Yankee postseason games, and honestly, the first couple innings of Harvey Day, especially the first inning, probably louder than any postseason Yankee game I've been to. This guy is the heart and soul of the Mets. He is the face of New York baseball. He's the Mets' most important player since probably Mike Piazza. And you know what? He's New York's most important player since Derek Jeter. Met fans love this guy. I am a huge Yankee fan. And even at the game, I was going nuts. Tuesday night, 39,489 people. 2014, the Mets' second home game of 2014, 29,000 people. The Met game last night, 21,052 people. This guy drew 10,000 plus people in 1 year and then over 18,000 people in one night. The first guy strikes him out. The crowd was going nuts. The second guy strikes him out. This crowd was unbelievable. When Chase Utley was down 1-2, right before he hit the home run, I've been to a couple Met games, I've never heard a Met game so loud. If Utley struck out to end that inning, it would have been unbelievable. I would have been fine with leaving the game right then and there, to be completely honest. Now, Harvey didn't have his best stuff, but you know what? For his outing, that shows you how good this guy is. This guy still had a really good outing, didn't have his best stuff. That just shows you how much of a freak this guy truly is. Besides the Utley home run and that really, really weird fifth inning, he was unbelievable. Watching this guy throw is honestly an honor. I've said it time and time again. I think he's the second best pitcher in the National League, only behind Clayton Kershaw, who right now has been struggling. Matt Harvey is one of the best pitchers in the major leagues. And honestly, right now, he might be the best. This guy is unbelievable. He is the heart and soul of this Mets ball club. And honestly, even though he doesn't pitch every day, just the thought of him being around, that might be enough to bring the Mets into the postseason this year. Now, the crowd died down a little bit during the third and fourth inning because I guess they finally got used to Harvey being there. But then the fifth inning came along, and Chase Utley came up to bat. And you know what? First pitch to Chase Utley after his home run and his single, he plunked him right in the back. Now, this is when the crowd started going insane. I was chanting his name the whole night, but honestly, this was the only time that I didn't chant his name. I'm not a fan of hitting people for revenge. For me, the best revenge is getting the guy out. I would much rather get the guy out than have a possible run on base. If you hit someone, you better back that up. Remember Ryan Dempster, 2013? Hit Alex Rodriguez. A couple at-bats later, he hit a bomb into the deepest part of Fenway. Now, if you like that old-fashioned hard ball, of course you were a fan of it. I'm a big fan of intensity in baseball. But as a pitcher and as a fan, I don't want possible runs on base. I want as little people on base as possible. Now, what I did like was Chase Utley's reaction to getting hit and Matt Harvey's stare down of Chase Utley. Chase Utley knew he was getting hit. So he just threw the bat, and he threw it in such a way that he let Harvey know he was a little mad, but he understood, went to first, didn't even make eye contact with Matt Harvey. Now, on the other hand, Matt Harvey stared him down practically the entire way to first base. That meant that Matt Harvey meant business. Harvey is the type of guy who likes to hang on to the edge. For example, he tweeted a picture right before getting Tommy John surgery, flipping the middle finger. He pushes things to the limit. That's the kind of guy he is. And he did that by hitting Chase Utley. But him staring Utley down was him saying, I give you props for hitting ropes off of me, but you know what? I am still not afraid of you. I'm going to come after you, even though you might hit me all the time, but I'm still going to come after you, and you better believe you have not seen the last of me. Matt Harvey is fearless. And he let Chase Utley know that. He let everyone in the ballpark know that. He let everyone in the world know that. Because that was all over SportsCenter. To play this game and pitch, you need to play without fear. Well, in any sport, you need to play fearlessly. Why? Because you want to get beat by your opponent rather than yourself. And then on top of that, once Chase Utley got hit, the crowd was going insane again. That's what Matt Harvey wanted. And that's what Matt Harvey got. Again, I would much rather see outs. But when you look at the logistics of it, it all makes sense. Rivalry in the NL East. Matt Harvey trying to get the crowd on his shoulders. Matt Harvey coming back after over a year and a half. Chase Utley hitting bombs off of him. And Matt Harvey is the kind of guy who will hit you if you do well against him. I don't like it. I would rather get outs. I think it's kind of jealousy. But you know what? If that's what Harvey wants to do, if he wants to put guys on base, then so be it. If you're gonna do that, you better back it up. Overall, though, Matt Harvey Day, in general, an incredible experience. I had phenomenal seats. The fans even stayed after Harvey was done, which I honestly did not expect. The crowd was incredible. It was a postseason environment. I mean, 1-2 with no outs, top of the first inning, 2 strikes, everyone stood up and went insane. You usually see that like in October in the 7th inning on opening day with 2 outs. You never see the entire crowd stand up in unison with 2 strikes and no outs in the top of the first inning. That's what kind of environment this was. It was a postseason environment, and it was awesome. The crowd was insane at the first pitch. And you know what? You only see that in October. My last 3 games, Derek Jeter's last home game, opening day, Matt Harvey Day. Honestly, Harvey Day might have been better than opening day. I mean, of course, the Yankees played terribly that game, but either way, that's how special this game was. When I was at this game, I reminisced to Derek Jeter night the whole time, because that's what this guy reminds me of. This guy is so loved by these fans and his teammates and the ownership, by everyone. I just kept thinking about Derek Jeter's last home game. I kept comparing the two. This game was unbelievably special. This was probably the most important Met game, since Game 7 of the 2006 NLCS, honestly. Or 2007, that last game of the year. This game meant more than every game in the last 6 seasons. Easily. This game was special. I will always remember it. I feel blessed to have gone to that game with 5 of my great friends. Unbelievable. I'm going to cherish that. Now, there was bad news on Harvey night. David Wright strained his hamstring stealing second. Honestly, when Michael Kadire got hit by the pitch on the hand, I thought he was the one that was going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks instead of David Wright. I thought, honestly, they were swapped. But nonetheless, David Wright, strained hamstring, stealing second in the bottom of the 8th. The last time David Wright hurt his hamstring, he was out for 2 months. And the last thing the Mets need is an injury. Especially an injury to David Wright. Now, I believe the Mets have enough skill around David Wright to still win games in his absence, but you know what? David Wright's absence might hit this team psychologically. Not having your leader, not having your captain, not having the face of your franchise for the last 10 years, that is something. Even though the stats might not say that he's one of the greatest players on the team, the intangibles do. I remember when Derek Jeter broke his ankle. If Derek Jeter didn't break his ankle, I guarantee you the Yankees don't get swept by Detroit that series. If Derek Jeter played in more than 17 games in 2013, the Yankees might have been a playoff team. Who knows? Now, they brought up this Campbell guy. He's been hitting very well in AAA. But I think the good thing that David Wright did, he didn't push it. In 2013, the last time he hurt his hamstring, he was out for 2 months because he pushed it. At first, he wanted to keep playing. He left himself in the game, but then he took himself out in the middle of an at-bat. That was the best thing David Wright could have done. The Mets and David Wright need to be very, very smart about this. Because if they're not, who knows what will happen to this team. If they bring back David Wright too soon, he'll just aggravate the injury over and over again. And I've said this a million times. If you hurt a leg, you spend so much time rehabbing that one body part in the leg. For example, it's David Wright's hamstring right now. He's going to rehab that hamstring. But that's going to weaken the rest of his leg. He's going to put so much emphasis on that hamstring. His calves are going to be weak. His ankle is going to be weak. His thighs are going to be weak. His knees are going to be weak. His glutes are going to be weak. That's exactly what happened to Derek Jeter. When Derek Jeter broke his ankle, he spent so much time trying to rehab the ankle that everything else in the leg got weak. The ankle wound up being okay, and then what was his next injury? He actually refractured the ankle the first time, and then once he came back, his first game, he strained his quad. One game, he hurt his quad. Why? Because he spent so much time on the ankle that the quad was weak. Then the same thing happened. He tried to build up the quad, and then what was his next injury? A calf injury. And then he had to rework the calf. It was a mess. Leg injuries are honestly one of the worst things to happen to an athlete because of that. You spend so much time rehabbing one body part that everything else goes away. So the Mets need to be smart about this. He needs to, obviously, his main priority is that hamstring. So get that hamstring healthy, but you know what? Give him another week, week and a half to get everything else up to par with the rest of his leg, the rest of his body. Then David Wright will be back, and he will be hitting well for this team. Because honestly, the Mets need this guy. Maybe not skill-wise, because Decker or Decker, one of them, he will be a good backup for David Wright at third base defensively. Darno was hitting in the 2-hole the other day, and he hit a home run in the second spot. So I think he'll be fine. But you know what? Again, it's a psychological thing. Not having your team leader stinks. So the NBA season, regular season, ended last night. We'll get to playoff predictions later on in the show. But I just wanted to give you guys my opinions on NBA awards. The sixth man, the most improved, coach of the year, MVP, all that. Sixth man of the year, I am giving it to Isaiah Thomas. Now remember, this is an individual award. That's selfish, but it's the truth. If it was a team award, I'd give it to Lou Williams. Lou Williams' team is, well, they're both in the playoffs, but the Raptors are the better team than the Celtics. But again, it's an individual award. Isaiah Thomas just has the better stats. If it had to do with the team, I'd give it to Williams, but I say it's going to Isaiah Thomas. Most improved, I'm giving it to probably Hassan Whiteside. My top two are Whiteside and Draymond Green. Hassan Whiteside, no one knew this guy last year. Seriously, I never heard of him until he went off and had 12 blocks in one game or whatever it was. Now, everyone knows him, and honestly, he's an awesome defender. And you know what? The same thing goes for Draymond Green. But I like Hassan Whiteside a little more. I think Draymond Green is the better player, but we knew who Draymond Green was. Hassan Whiteside literally went from being a nobody to one of the Heat's most important players. That's why he is getting my pick for most improved player. Coach of the year, I have a lot of picks, but my top three, 1, 2, 3, Mike Budenholzer, Steve Kerr, Jason Kidd. My pick is Budenholzer. Kerr is my second pick for obvious reasons. But you know what? I want to talk about Jason Kidd really quickly. Jason Kidd, honestly, does not get enough respect. He doesn't get enough credit. Jason Kidd brought a Jabari Parker-less Milwaukee Bucks to a 6th seed in the playoffs. Now, sure, Jabari Parker isn't all that in the NBA yet. But again, Jabari Parker is the future of this team. And having him with such a terrible injury, again, it's a psychological thing. The Jabari Parker injury psychologically and mentally hurt this team a lot. And besides that, Jason Kidd has a great basketball mind, and he makes a phenomenal coach. I thought he did very well in Brooklyn. I don't know what happened that sent him to Milwaukee, but I think he's well liked in Milwaukee. And I think there is a good possibility that he can steal this award. As for Kerr and Budenholzer, well, Steve Kerr, first-year coach, led the Warriors to 67-15. That's 3 games worse than the 95-96 Bulls. The only reason why I'm not giving him Coach of the Year is because the Warriors have 60-plus win talent. Mike Budenholzer brought the Atlanta Hawks from last year. They practically have the same team, and they were, 38-44 in the playoffs? He brought basically the same Hawks team to 60 wins and the number 1 seed in the East. That is not an easy task. In a lot of cases, a coach is just as good as his players are. But in this case, it's the opposite. Mike Budenholzer is a phenomenal coach. He treats his players very well. And he is one of the main reasons why they have 60 wins. To not have a guy over 7 feet and still win 60 games, that's great coaching. That's great chemistry, which leads with the coach. That all starts with the coach, chemistry. Defensive Player of the Year, my top 3 are Anthony Davis, DeAndre Jordan, and Kawhi Leonard. Anthony Davis, league-leading blocker with 2.94 a game. He has 1.5 steals a game. He has 7.6 defensive rebounds a game. And he had an incredible clutch block late in the game last night to help the Pelicans clinch the 8 seed. DeAndre Jordan, 10.1 defensive boards a game, 2.23 blocks, a steal a game. Now, Kawhi Leonard, obviously he's not going to be big with the blocks, and he's not going to be big with the rebounds, but he averages the most steals a game at 2.35. He is a lockdown defender. That's why he won Finals MVP last year. He locked the Miami Heat, specifically LeBron James, down. The stats say Anthony Davis. But when you look at the defensive play and look and see who locks people down, honestly, my top 2 are Kawhi Leonard and Tony Allen. Kawhi Leonard also has the stats also. He leads the league in steals. And honestly, Tony Allen, I don't watch a lot of him, but from what I've heard and from what I've seen, he's very tough to get by. Kevin Durant had a Q&A yesterday with fans on Twitter last night. He called Tony Allen the best one-on-one defender in the league. Tony Allen, not LeBron, not Curry or CP3 or whatever, not any of these household name guys. Tony Allen. Rookie of the Year, easy, going to Andrew Wiggins. Without Jabari Parker, this class flat out stunk this year. But Wiggins was great. He averaged 16.8 points, 4.5 rebounds, 2.1 assists. That's flat out awesome for a rookie, especially on Minnesota. Who knows if Jabari didn't get hurt, maybe he would win the award. But you know what? Would he be classified as a rookie for next year? I don't know what the qualifications are, but he might be, now that I think about it. And Julius Randle also, because he got hurt in his first game. Now, the most important award there is, the most valuable player. I said Russell Wilson all year long. But you know what? I'm sorry. You're out of the MVP race if you don't make the playoffs. Now, of course, it's not his fault he didn't make the playoffs. No Kevin Durant, no Ibaka for a while. The rest of the team outside of him stinks. Injuries hurt this team this year. And honestly, Russell Wilson might be the most valuable player. Remember, value does not mean the best, whatever. He was the only reason why the Thunder were still alive. But you know what? I can't give such a prestigious title to a guy not in the playoffs. With that being said, my top 2 I hate to say it, Anthony Davis is second and LeBron is first. Now, Anthony Davis, I get New Orleans as a small market team. I'm not a big basketball savant, but outside of Anthony Davis, I really can't name one person on the Pelicans. I'm sure when I look at the roster, I would be like, oh, yeah, okay. But honestly, no. But you know what? LeBron James is my MVP. Now, he doesn't have eye-popping stats. 25.3 points, 7.4 assists, 6 rebounds. And which is great. But we all know LeBron James can do much better than that. But again, MVP, most valuable player. It's not all about stats. It's about value. You don't think LeBron James is the most valuable player? I'll tell you about value. He spent 4 years with the Miami Heat. All 4 years, the Cavaliers missed the playoffs by a lot. Every year, except his rookie year, LeBron was with Cleveland, they were at least 500. 2009, 2010, their last year with LeBron, 66-15. Their first year without LeBron, that record was practically swapped, 19-63. The second year without LeBron, 21-45 with the lockout. Third season without LeBron, 24-58. The fourth season without LeBron, 33-49. This year, with LeBron, what do they have? 55, 56 wins? And they're one of, if not the best team in the league. And yes, they have Kevin Love. They have Kyrie Irving. They made good trades for J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert, and Mozgov. And they have Mike Miller, who has great chemistry with LeBron. But you know what? Without those guys, I truly believe that the Cavs are still a top team in the East with LeBron James on their roster. If you disagree, I'm going to tell you one thing right now. Give me the next best guy LeBron was teammates with during his first stint with Cleveland. Carlos Boozer, his rookie year. Ilgauskas, Drew Gooden, Verjao, Ben Wallace for 2 years, way after his prime. Delonte West, a 30-something-year-old Shaq for like 10 games. That's why the Cavs would still be a top team in the East this year. Because LeBron took, honestly, bad teams to the playoffs, to the finals. And by the way, his former team, the Miami Heat, they made 4 straight finals with LeBron. The first year without LeBron, they are not in the playoffs. And who's on their roster? Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Luol Deng, Josh McRoberts, Goran Dragic, Hassan Whiteside, Chris Anderson, Mario Chalmers. On paper, in the East, that's a 5 seed, a 6 seed. But you know what? LeBron James is the best player on this planet. I'm sounding like a broken record today. Psychologically, the Heat miss this guy. MVP does not mean best, but in this case, best means MVP. Physically and psychologically, the Heat miss this guy. LeBron James, you don't even have to pull up stats. Just pull up what teams have done with and without the guy. LeBron-less teams are not making the playoffs. And again, the Heat are a good team. Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Luol Deng, McRoberts, Dragic. That right there is a solid starting 5. And they couldn't make the playoffs? I'll tell you what, The Knicks would kill to have that roster. Well, the Knicks would kill to have any roster, but you know what? If I'm a Heat fan, I'm beyond PO'd. If my team can't make the playoffs with that roster, that is bad. People are saying that James Harden should win MVP. No. The Rockets are still a playoff team without James Harden. I don't think James Harden is responsible for 11-plus games. And if you think Steph Curry should be MVP, get out of your mind. Steph Curry has put on a show this year. I'm not going to deny that. He has been absolutely incredible. But you know what? Steph Curry is not responsible for 22-plus wins. He might not even be responsible for 10, 11. It shouldn't have ever been Steph Curry. Look at his roster. Draymond Green, Andrew Bogut, David Lee, Klay Thompson, Harrison Barnes. Without Steph Curry on paper, no psychological things here, that's still a 50-win team at least. The Rockets, they have Jason Terry, they have Dwight Howard, they have Trevor Ariza, they have Smith, I forgot his first name. That seems like a playoff team to me, especially if Dwight Howard plays like we all know he can. If not, then the Rockets aren't good. Honestly, Dwight Howard should win MVP every year. Look at the Magic with Dwight Howard. Look at the Magic without him. My top two are LeBron and Anthony Davis. And Harden, I won't be surprised if he wins because he's my third pick. They all deserve it, but I think LeBron deserves it a little more. Personally, I think that James Harden will win the MVP. But you know what? LeBron James matters way too much for everyone. He is the best player on earth. He is the most valuable player on earth. Still in the awards section, but this time we're going to go in the NHL. First trophy they do, the Calder Trophy, which is the best rookie. I'm going with Philip Forsberg from the Predators. 50 points in his first 55 games. Fell off a little bit. He had 62 points total in 81 games. But you know what? He would be the Devils' best player. That's insane. Philip Forsberg, I've always liked. He had a great year for the Predators. He is a big factor as to why they are in the playoffs right now. Vezina Trophy, I hope everyone knows that one. Best goalie. No doubt in my mind, Carey Price from the Canadiens. He has been unbelievable this year. The fourth most saves, the fourth most shots against, 9 shutouts, that's first in the league. A 1.93 goals against, that's first in the league. A .935 save percentage, that's first in the league. Honestly, he is the only goalie who can stop the Rangers. And if it's not Carey Price, it should be Corey Schneider. Corey Schneider on an awful Devils team, third most saves, third most shots allowed because his defense stinks. 7th goals against, 2.26. 4th save percentage, 9.25. The edge goes to Carey Price, but Corey Schneider had an unbelievable season, and he's not getting enough credit because the Devils stink. Now, the Hart Trophy, the MVP of their own team, my top two are Ovechkin and Tavares. And I think Tavares has the edge over Alex Ovechkin. Alex Ovechkin, 53 goals, leading the NHL. The Caps probably are not a playoff team without him. But you know what? The same thing goes for John Tavares. John Tavares, second most points in the league with 86. 4th most goals in the league with 38. I think Tavares wins because I think the Islanders are much worse without Tavares than the Capitals are without Ovechkin. The Islanders are awful without Tavares. The stats say Ovechkin, but the rest of the team, and honestly the award's name, says John Tavares. Here we go with some updates as usual. First off with baseball, which hopefully you just heard here on WRPR 90.3 FM with me on the call. They upset number 5 ranked Kane 5-3. Scott Pesciani went 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Scott Shields went 2 for 4 with a 2-run single. They are in Kane tomorrow to finish up the series. Then a doubleheader here at Jeff Munn Memorial Field against TCNJ. The softball team has won 7 of their last 8, including a tie on Tuesday. Game 1 of their doubleheader on Tuesday against Kane, a 2-0 win. Grace Brennan, 2 for 3 with an RBI double. Katrina Buskowski, a complete game shutout, letting up 5 hits and 9 strikeouts. She is 9-3 on the year. Game 2 ended in a 4-4 tie. They were down 5-1 in the 5th, but the Roadrunners put up a 3-spot with 2 sac flies and an unearned run on an error. Nicole Mahoney went 1 for 3 with a solo home run. Softball team is currently in a doubleheader in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, against Moravian College. Women's lacrosse, a tough day against Montclair on Tuesday, a 21-4 loss. They are back in action as we speak at the Sage Colleges in Albany. The men's tennis team had a solid week. They have won 9 in a row. They beat Rutgers Camden 9-0 on Monday. They beat John Jay 9-0 on Tuesday. And they beat the College of Staten Island yesterday 8-1. They are right now in Newburgh, New York to take on Mount St. Mary's. The women's tennis team also beat the College of Staten Island 7-2 yesterday as well. The men's and women's track and field teams are in East Stroudsburg this weekend for the All-American Invitational. Moving professional, the NHL playoffs started last night, and it was awesome. First off, the Islanders, besides the lockout-shortened 2012-2013 season, they played their first playoff game since 2007, and it was a good start for the New York Islanders. Game 1 in Washington last night, they won 4-1. Brock Nelson, 2 goals. Josh Bailey and Ryan Strome with the other 2. Yaroslav Halak with 24 saves. Game 2 is in Washington tomorrow night at 7 o'clock on NBC Sports Network. First game, first overtime, and the second overtime as the Blackhawks and Predators were in double overtime last night. Chicago won the game 4-3. Duncan Keith netted the game-winning goal 7 minutes and 49 seconds into double overtime. Scott Darling replaced Corey Crawford for the Blackhawks after letting up 3 goals in the first period. Darling made 42 saves last night. Game 2 is in Nashville tomorrow night at 9:30 on NBC Sports Network. Corey Crawford will indeed get the start. The Montreal Canadiens beat the Ottawa Senators 4-3 in Game 1 in Montreal. PK Subban received a game misconduct after a hard slash in the second period. Brian Flynn, the game-winning goal with just 2:43 to play in regulation. Carey Price made 30 saves. Game 2 is tomorrow in Montreal at 7 o'clock. The Calgary Flames and Vancouver Canucks were underway in Vancouver last night. Game 1 goes to the Flames 2-1. Both Flames goals came in the third period. David Jones tied it. Chris Russell won it with 30 seconds to play. Game 2 tomorrow night at 10:30. Tonight, the Red Wings are in Tampa Bay. The Wild take on the Blues in St. Louis. The Winnipeg Jets take on the Anaheim Ducks. And the Rangers try to defend their Eastern Conference title and this time win the Stanley Cup, opening up their playoffs against the Pittsburgh Penguins at the Garden tonight. The puck drops at 7 o'clock. You can catch the game on either MSG Network or NBC Sports Network. The NBA playoffs are set after last night, and the Brooklyn Nets have a playoff spot. They clinched the 8th seed with a win over the Magic, and the Pacers lost to the Memphis Grizzlies. Both went 38-44, but the Nets won the season series, giving them the tiebreaker. The Nets went 13-6 in their last 19 games. Bojan Bogdanovic, 28 points off the bench, Thaddeus Young and Joe Johnson, 16 points each. The Nets will face number 1 seeded Atlanta Hawks in round 1. The Hawks swept the season series 4-0. Game 1 is Sunday in Atlanta at 5:30. You can catch that game on the Yes Network. The Thunder out. The Pelicans in. OKC beat Minnesota 138-113 yesterday. Russell Westbrook dropped 37, but it was not enough as the Pelicans control their own destiny. They clinched the 8th seed with a 108-103 win over the Spurs last night. Anthony Davis, 31 points and 13 boards. Ladies and gentlemen, every game matters. The NBA playoffs are looking like this. In the West, it's the 1-seeded Warriors against the 8-seeded Pelicans, the 2-seeded Rockets against the 7-seeded Mavericks, the 3-seeded Clippers against the 6-seeded Spurs, and the 4-seeded Blazers against the 5-seeded Grizzlies. In the East, it's the 1-seeded Hawks against the 8-seeded Brooklyn Nets, the 2-seeded Cleveland Cavaliers against the 7-seeded Celtics, the 3-seeded Bulls against the 6-seed Bucks, and the 4-seed Raptors against the 5-seed Wizards. Moving on to baseball for the Yankees. 3 series losses. They lost to the Orioles last night 7-5 in the rubber game of their series despite A-Rod's second home run of the year. They had a 1-run lead when the bullpen took over in the 6th, and the O's put up 5 runs in that 6th inning. They start a series against Tampa tomorrow. They're off tonight. Tomorrow night, Adam Warnes versus Nathan Carnes. Saturday, Tanaka versus Jake Odorizzi. Sunday, Michael Pineda versus Matt Andriesi. And the New York Mets, Harvey Day on Tuesday was a success. Won the game 6-5. Some questionable home plate umpire, but nonetheless, Harvey, 6-inning pitch, 5 hits, 3 earned, no walks, 8 strikeouts, 64 strikes on 95 pitches. They completed the sweep of the Phillies last night as Travis d'Arnaud and Lucas Duda's home runs lifted the Mets to a 6-1 victory. Jonathan Neese, 6 1/3, 9 hits, 1 earned, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Miami coming to town tonight for a 4-game series. They are just underway now. Tonight it's Dylan G against Jared Cosart. Tomorrow, it's Bartolo Colon against David Phelps, battle of former Yankees. Jacob deGrom versus Matt Latos on Saturday, and Matt Harvey versus Tom Kohler on Sunday. The bad news for the Mets, David Wright was placed on the 15-day DL with a mild right hamstring strain. In football, Aaron Hernandez, found guilty of first-degree murder in the killing of Odin Lloyd, faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. He is still on trial for 2 other murders. Adrian Peterson will be instated into the NFL tomorrow. And in college basketball, Tyus Jones announces that he will enter the NBA draft. He is ranked 23rd overall by ESPN's own Chad Ford. Now, I don't want to talk about this, but sadly, it's news. You just heard Aaron Hernandez, found guilty of first-degree murder in the killing of Odin Lloyd, found guilty on all 5 charges in his trial, faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. Talk about throwing your life away. The guy was set for life, a $40 million contract, and now, instead of being set for life, he's in prison for life, without parole. He will be in a jail cell 24/7 for the rest of his life. To make matters worse, he will be 1.5 miles away from Gillette Stadium. And you know what? Every Sunday, there is no doubt that he will hear that crowd. 1.5 miles away from 60,000, 70,000 people yelling and screaming at the top of their lungs. Talk about torture and talk about just being a flat-out loser. Now, people are surprised that Aaron Hernandez had no reaction to the verdict. The reason why he had no reaction was because the guy is a lunatic. The guy's a psychopath. He is a sick, sick human being. A football player by day and a cold-blooded killer by night. He literally killed people and played football. Killed people and lived normally, per se. The morning after Odin Lloyd's death, he tweeted, quote, "Good morning." He tweeted that a day after killing somebody. That alone should tell you how sick of a person this guy is. And you know what? I'm glad this guy gets to rot in prison. Deep down, I really want to know what his future would have been like if he wasn't found guilty. But you know what? I'm glad we won't ever find out. I think someone still would have given him the chance because sadly, there are some teams who just flat out don't care about players' personal lives. And you know what? I've said it before. I might sound like a hypocrite right now. I've said that the Giants should sign guys with violence issues. I want them to get Peterson. I wanted them to get Greg Hardy. And I'm sure I've called for them to get a million guys who have had domestic violence issues or drunk driving charges or whatever. We all have wanted that. People went off on the Cowboys for signing Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy's going to help out that team if he stays out of trouble. But you know what? What Greg Hardy did and what Aaron Hernandez did are two totally different things. What Greg Hardy did was completely unacceptable. Same thing for Ray Rice and Mike Vick and all of these guys who really just don't think. But Aaron Hernandez took a life away from one of his friends. This guy is a sick you-know-what. Some teams would probably want Aaron Hernandez to try out for their team. Ray Lewis got away with murder, alleged. I don't know the details of that trial. I don't know if he was guilty or not. But you know what? Shortly after being found not guilty of murder, Ray Lewis was right back on the practice field. Michael Vick, and as soon as he got out of jail, he signed a contract with the Philadelphia Eagles. Dante Stallworth killed a guy while driving drunk, and he still played in the NFL. Of course the team would have wanted Aaron Hernandez. But you know what? I am glad that we won't ever find out. Because this guy doesn't deserve to be outside 4.5 inches of his jail cell. And I'm glad he's going to hear Patriot fans every week. But you know what? He probably doesn't even care. Because this guy is a psychopath. It takes a sick person to do what he did. He signed a $40 million contract. You know what? I'm saying that as if I feel bad for the guy. I don't feel bad for him. This guy's a lunatic. This guy's a psycho. And he killed one of his friends. And then he tweeted, "Good morning." Yeah, real good morning. I'm sure that was a good morning for the Odin Lloyd family, huh? Knowing that one of his friends just killed him. It makes me sick. People like that don't deserve to walk this earth. Put him in solitary confinement. Put him in a 10 by 10, not even, jail cell. And feed him a bowl of rotten mashed potatoes once a day. That's what Aaron Hernandez deserves for the rest of his life. More news in college basketball. Tyus Jones entering the NBA draft. I love Tyus Jones. But I hate to say it, he's not NBA ready yet. The guy has great ball handling. He has great quickness. He has a good shot. But you know what? I don't think any of those are NBA ready just yet. Mostly due to the fact that he's only 5'9". Now, there was a time where I honestly doubted his success with Jahlil Okafor. Jahlil Okafor and Tyus Jones teamed up when they were freshmen in high school. They wanted to commit to the same college and win a national championship. They did whatever they could. They were inseparable. And I thought to myself, what is Tyus Jones without Jahlil Okafor? You want to know what Tyus Jones is without Jahlil Okafor? The championship game against Wisconsin. Jahlil Okafor was out in foul trouble, and Tyus Jones took over. Once I saw that game, I had no doubt in my mind that Tyus Jones can succeed without Jahlil Okafor. But you know what? I'm not sure if he can succeed just yet on an NBA level. Being 5'9", you need to have a lot of skill. And you know what? I hate to say it, but he doesn't have it yet. He has a ton of skill. He's a great college player. But he doesn't have the NBA skill yet. And what kills me is that he thinks he's NBA ready. And he's just being one and done. 1 year in college is the worst thing the NCAA could do. You really think that someone is ready after just 30 or 40 college games? Kyrie Irving played in 15 games at Duke? Nerlens Noel played 10 games at Kentucky? They were still out their first year of college. Now some players are ready right out of high school. Go right to the NBA. I'm all for that. Whether colleges like it or not, Cardell Jones said it best. They're not here to play school. Their main focus is sports. They don't care about the classroom. Why don't they care about the classroom? Because they know they're making the pros anyway. The NCAA and commissioners of all these conferences, they want people to spend a year in college so they get more pro ready, so they get a year of readiness. Some of them are already ready. Instead, they're getting a year of cutting classes because they're making the pros. And at the same time, LeBron's 10-year-old son was getting recruited. The NCAA is so dumb. They have rules for different conferences. They recruit 10-year-olds. But remember that homeless guy on Baylor who accepted some benefits because the guy was homeless? Now he's banned from playing football? Either make it no years or make it like college football 3 years. 1 year has to change it up. They have to change it. But nonetheless, Tyus Jones, I think if he didn't win at Duke, he would probably stay another year. But you know what? He won. His college career is done with after 1 year. Honestly, I would probably do the same thing. But Tyus Jones is not NBA ready yet. The NBA playoffs are almost underway. Here are my predictions. Starting off with the West, I'm going the Warriors over the Pelicans in 5. The Warriors Warriors and Pelicans. I think the Pelicans can get one, but actually, no, Warriors are going to sweep them. I think the Pelicans could get one, but not going to happen. Now, the Blazers and Grizzlies, I had a tough time picking this series. Memphis has the better record, but Blazers won the division. I'm going to go Blazers over Grizzlies in 7. I like Lillard and Aldridge together. I like Portland's fan base. I'm giving the Blazers the edge. I think the Rockets are beating the Mavericks in 5. I won't be surprised if the Mavericks win that series, though, because I really like Dallas. But you know what? Houston is very good, especially if Dwight Howard plays up to his full potential. Spurs and Clippers, I have the Spurs winning that series in 6. The Clippers are just a bad playoff team, and the Spurs are the Spurs. Simple. If that happens, that means the Warriors will play the Blazers. I have the Warriors beating the Blazers in 5. And I have the Spurs beating the Rockets in 6. The Houston Rockets are not that good of a playoff team. And again, the Spurs are the Spurs. They know how to win. Now, the Western Conference Finals. I said Spurs all year. But you know what? I don't think they'll have enough energy. They played in the finals last year, and I think that the Spurs are going to play more playoff games than the Warriors. Again, the Spurs, they just win. But I'm going the Warriors in 7. They are two complete teams, but you know what? Golden State is the more exciting team. They have a better home crowd. They're going to play in less games, at least with my prediction, and also including last year with the Spurs making the finals. Warriors in 7, representing the West. In the East, even though the Hawks swept the Nets this year in the season, I think the Hawks win it in 6. I think Brooklyn's home crowd can get behind them in Brooklyn. I'm going Hawks in 6. Another tough series, Raptors and Wizards. Tough time picking this one. I think it was going in 7, and I think the Raptors are gonna get a lot of help having Game 7 at home. I think the Raptors are gonna win in 7. I think the Cavs are sweeping the Celtics. I think the Bulls are sweeping the Bucks. If that happens, Hawks and Raptors. I'm not too sold on Atlanta yet, but I know enough that they're better than Toronto. Hawks are going to win that series in 7. I have the Cavs over the Bulls in 6. And then I have the Cavs over the Hawks in 5. The Hawks, I'm not too sold on them yet. I think Cleveland is one of the best teams in the league. I think they're a lot better than Atlanta. And I think the Cavs are going to beat the Bulls simply because I don't think the Bulls are that good. I mean, I shouldn't say that. The Bulls are a good team, but you know what? Cleveland is just better. Simple. Now, my finals. Cavs, Warriors. All year, I said Cavs, Spurs, but I'm going Cavs, Warriors. LeBron's desire for a ring in Cleveland is going to kick in tremendously. And that is why the Cleveland Cavaliers will win the finals this year. I think the Warriors are the better team, but I think the Cavaliers have had unbelievable chemistry. I think LeBron wants this ring more than any ring. This ring, if he wins it, his first ring with Cleveland, he's going to get it. His first ring with Cleveland will mean more than his first ring ever as a player. He wants that ring so badly. I think the Cavs win that series in 6. Cleveland Cavaliers are my pick for the 2014-2015 NBA champions. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday, and that means it's time for the Beast of the Week. This week's Beast of the Week, my voice just cracked a little bit. I've been on the air for 4 hours straight. This week's Beast of the Week is going to Adam Jones, the center fielder for the Baltimore Orioles. His last 7 days, 571, 12 for 21, 9 runs, 4 homers, 5 RBIs. This year, 406, 13 for 32, 2 doubles, 4 home runs, 11 ribbies, 10 runs. The series against the Yankees, 5 for 11, 455 average, 2 home runs, 4 ribbies, only struck out 1 time. He has grown into an incredible, incredible player. He used to be that guy to dog it in the field. Buck Showalter showed him videos of him jogging down the first baseline, jogging to fly balls, and that changed him. Adam Jones has grown into one of my favorite players in the big leagues, and I have no doubt in my mind that Adam Jones is my Beast of the Week for this week. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the Ryan Morik Show. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in to the baseball game I called. Good win for the Roadrunners. And thanks for tuning in for the half-hour delay here on the Ryan Morik Show. Rangers are underway at the Garden. The Mets are underway at Citi Field. NBA playoffs are underway this weekend. Yankees in action tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not goodbye. It is see you later. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. I will see you on Saturday here on Ramapo College Radio. I'm calling either baseball or softball, not sure yet. Either way, see you on Saturday. Take care.